Tonight, we embark on a journey through time, to a world where the streets are muddy, the air is thick with the smell of smoke, and the glow of the tavern lanterns calls to all those seeking warmth, company, and perhaps a little trouble. The medieval tavern, chaotic, lively, and full of stories, is not just a place for the weary traveler to rest, but the beating heart of the town. You've walked through the rain, your shoes slipping on the wet cobblestones, your stomach rumbling from hunger, and your mind weary from the journey. You know what you need: a drink, some food, and a bit of distraction. As you approach, the sound of laughter, shouting, and clinking mugs fills the air, guiding you to your destination. A crooked building with a sign, so worn it could be anything, a barrel, a bear, or something else entirely, welcomes you in. The door creaks open, and the warmth of the tavern hits you. Smoke, ale, wet wool, and the faint scent of mystery meat greet your senses. The low ceiling forces even the tallest men to duck, and the floor beneath your feet is nothing but dirt and straw, worn thin by countless boots. The place is rowdy, alive with energy, and not a single person here is sober. A bard sings a song in the corner, his voice cracking on the high notes, but no one cares. They're too busy arguing, drinking, or lost in their own drunken musings. At a nearby table, a soldier boasts about his latest battle, his words a mix of truth and exaggeration, and the crowd laughs, not really caring about the details. It's the noise, the camaraderie, and the warmth of the fire that makes it all worthwhile. The tavern keeper, a grizzled figure behind the bar, keeps everything under control with a sharp eye and a quick hand, making sure no one gets too out of line. He knows all the regulars by name, and even the newcomers, like you, are under his watchful gaze. No one dares to cause trouble in his domain. The food arrives, simple and filling. A thick stew made from whatever ingredients were lying around, perhaps rabbit, pigeon, or the leftover chicken that wandered too close to the fire. It's served in a wooden bowl, and you eat with your hands, wiping your fingers on your sleeve when you're done. The bread is tough, but it's enough to soak up the broth, and the cheese, though pungent, is better than nothing. You sip your ale, thick and warm, the kind that tastes like it's been sitting around for a while, but is somehow perfect in the moment. As you settle in, you realize this is more than just a place to eat and drink. It's a place where stories are shared, where people laugh, argue, and sometimes even fight. It's a community, raw and unrefined, but full of life. And as the night deepens, you feel yourself becoming part of this strange, chaotic family. The laughter, the shouting, the clinking of mugs. This is the sound of the medieval tavern, a place where time slows down and the world outside fades away. The night stretches on, and you, like everyone else, are swept up in the rhythm of the tavern, where anything can happen and often does. So you drink, you eat, and you listen to the stories, both the ones that are told and the ones that are lived. Because in this place, the only thing that matters is the moment. And tonight, you're part of it all as the night stretches on. The tavern transforms from a cacophony of noise and chaos into a den of wagers and whispers. You hear the sharp clink of dice hitting wood, followed by a chorus of groans and cheers as the fate of copper coins is sealed in the roll. A soldier, his armor still bearing the marks of the battlefield, throws his dice with a practiced flick of the wrist, and his opponent, a thin, shifty-eyed man with too much ale in his belly, curses loudly when the dice fall in his favor. Witchcraft! The loser shouts, his voice high-pitched and shaking, but the soldier just laughs, taking a swig from his mug and handing the man his winnings with a mocking bow. The game continues, the stakes rising with every round, as if the tavern itself feeds on the tension. Meanwhile, a small group of men huddles around a table in the corner, their hands flashing quick as they shuffle a deck of weathered cards. The cards are well-worn, edges frayed, their faces faded from years of use. But to the men gathered, they hold all the promises of fortune or ruin. The dealer, a man whose fingers are too quick for your eyes, slaps down the final card with a flourish, and the table erupts in a roar of approval or angry protests. Above the noise, the tavern keeper, ever vigilant, scans the room with the eyes of someone who has seen it all before. His presence is a constant, unyielding force in the room, his hands steady as he fills mugs and keeps track of debts. A glance from him is enough to silence even the rowdiest patrons, though the tension is brief. There's always someone else ready to push the limits again. The fire in the hearth crackles, throwing flickering shadows across the room, as the heat from the flames fights with the stifling air thick with smoke, sweat, and the lingering smell of spilled ale. The dogs under the tables seem unfazed, some dozing, others half-heartedly sniffing at the scraps that fall to the floor, while the goat bleats at random intervals, its sharp call slicing through the noise like an unwanted reminder of the tavern's true nature. A woman, dressed in a heavy cloak stained with mud and spilled drink, stands near the bar, her arms folded, her sharp eyes scanning the room. She leans over to speak to the tavern keeper, her voice low and urgent. His face remains impassive, but his eyes flicker with a mix of recognition and warning. Whatever she says, it isn't good news, but the tavern keeper nods once, his expression grim, and she disappears into the crowd, leaving only a trail of unease in her wake. A young boy, no more than 10, darts between legs, his hands a blur as he snatches up bits of leftover bread and half-finished mugs of cider. No one stops him. It's just the way things are here. The tavern is alive, pulsing with the rhythm of its patrons, its heartbeat beating louder with each passing hour. The laughter never stops, the voices growing louder, more animated as the ale flows freely. It's a place where time seems to bend, where the past and present blur together in a haze of smoke and song. A bard strums his lute in the corner, his voice cracking and uneven, but his audience doesn't care. They're lost in the music, lost in the moment, caught in the madness that is the tavern's soul. As you sit back in your seat, feeling the weight of the night settle around you, you realize something. You're not just a spectator in this chaotic little world. You're part of it now. The tavern has a way of swallowing you whole, pulling you into its fold, and making you forget where you came from. All that matters now is the next round, the next bet, the next story. You raise your mug, its rough edges pressing against your lips, and take another swig. The warmth spreads through you, and for a moment, you feel at home. It's not much, but it's enough. The night stretches on, and the tavern beats on with it, unrelenting, unforgiving, and completely alive. The night deepens, and the sounds of the tavern grow more frantic as the hours slip by unnoticed. The flickering firelight casts grotesque shadows across the walls, making the figures of patrons seem monstrous, twisted in the haze of the smoke that rises from the hearth. Conversations become more disjointed, slurred, and wild as the ale and spirits take hold of their minds, twisting thoughts into jagged shapes. A fight nearly breaks out in the far corner of the room between a burly fisherman and a tall, lean traveler, their words a tangle of accusations. But the tavern keeper, who has seen it all before, steps in just in time, his calm voice cutting through the rising tension. The two men stare each other down for a long, heavy moment, but eventually, the fisherman grumbles something under his breath and stumbles back to his seat, while the traveler mutters a half-hearted apology, his face flushed with the heat of embarrassment or perhaps rage. The moment passes as quickly as it came, but the air feels charged, as if a storm is brewing just beyond the threshold of the tavern's walls. The atmosphere shifts again as a new figure enters the tavern, cloaked in a dark, tattered robe that hides most of their features. The door swings open with a creak that cuts through the din, and for just a moment, the room grows still, the noise dying down in cautious anticipation. Eyes turn to the newcomer, curiosity flickering across the faces of the patrons. The figure moves without a word, their boots silent against the wooden floor, and they make their way to the bar. The tavern keeper, ever watchful, eyes the figure carefully but doesn't say a word. The stranger orders a drink, their voice barely a whisper, and their presence seems to suck the very warmth from the room. There's something about them that sets the hair on the back of your neck on edge, something wrong, but not immediately identifiable. As the stranger sips their drink, the flickering light of the fire seems to dim ever so slightly, casting the room in a cold, distant glow. The conversations start again, but they are hushed, almost as if the room is afraid to speak too loudly. The woman who had been conversing with the tavern keeper earlier reappears, moving quickly toward the bar, her sharp eyes locked onto the stranger. She stops just short of them, her face a mask of determination, and the two exchange a few low words, though their voices are too quiet to be heard by anyone else. There's a tension in the air that's almost tangible, a feeling that something is about to break, that the storm is just moments away. The woman turns abruptly, and her eyes briefly meet yours before she strides back into the crowd. The stranger, meanwhile, remains still, their gaze fixed on nothing in particular, as if lost in a world of their own. It's unnerving, and you can't help but feel drawn to them, as if something is calling you, something you can't quite understand. Without thinking, you rise from your seat, your legs heavy and unsteady as you make your way toward the bar, your instincts pushing you closer to the enigma that is the cloaked figure. But before you can reach them, a crash interrupts the moment. The sound of something heavy slamming against the floor, followed by a shout of alarm. The tavern erupts into chaos once more, and the stranger vanishes into the crowd, their forms swallowed up by the surge of bodies as everyone rushes to see what happened. The tavern keeper is already moving, his face grim, and within moments, the disruption is quelled, though the atmosphere has shifted irreparably. The excitement of the fight, the tension of the newcomer, it all swirls together in a dizzying mix of fear and exhilaration, and you realize that the tavern is more than just a place to drink and gamble. It's a living thing, a beast with a heartbeat of its own, and tonight, it seems to have awakened. As the crowd settles back into its rhythm, you feel it, a shift, a prickling at the back of your mind, a sense that something isn't quite right. The night isn't over yet, and the storm that's been brewing all evening is far from finished. You return to your seat, your mind buzzing, your senses heightened. The shadows grow longer, the fire crackles, and the noise swells around you. It's no longer a simple tavern. It's a place where secrets are kept, where danger lingers in every corner, and where the only thing certain is that the night will end in chaos. You can feel it in your bones. The storm is coming. The clock ticks on, each passing moment heavier than the last, as the air in the tavern grows thick with an almost palpable sense of dread. You sit, waiting, watching the flickering shadows, feeling as though something is just out of reach, always hovering at the edge of your awareness. The usual banter and raucous laughter have returned to the tavern, but it's hollow, as if everyone knows something that hasn't been spoken yet. The fire crackles and spits, throwing eerie light across the walls, casting twisted shapes that move with the rhythm of the flames. Outside, the storm is now unmistakable. A low growl of thunder rumbles through the ground, and the wind howls against the building, rattling the windows as though trying to force its way in. The tension is so thick now that you can almost taste it, a bitter, metallic taste on your tongue. The stranger, the one cloaked in dark robes, has disappeared, lost in the chaos that unfolded moments ago. No one has seen where they've gone, and yet you can't shake the feeling that they are still here, watching, waiting like a shadow at the edge of your vision. You glance around the room, trying to settle your nerves, but the faces of the other patrons seem different now. Strange, almost as though they, too, have been touched by something dark. There's a whisper among them, hushed and furtive, but it's hard to make out the words over the din of the storm outside. The tavern keeper is back behind the bar, polishing glasses, his face as unreadable as ever, but his eyes flick to the door every so often, as though waiting for someone or something. The woman who had exchanged words with the stranger is nowhere to be seen, and that absence only adds to the growing unease that coils around your stomach. The door to the tavern creaks open once more, and this time, the room goes utterly silent. A chill rushes in with the wind, a bone-deep cold that makes the fire seem feeble by comparison. A figure steps into the doorway, silhouetted by the storm, their features obscured by the hood of a dark cloak. They don't move at first, simply standing in the threshold, their presence heavy with the weight of something ancient and unfathomable. The tavern keeper stops his work, his eyes narrowing, and the patrons hold their breath, watching. This new arrival doesn't speak, doesn't make a sound, but there's something about them that pulls at you, something magnetic and dangerous. The storm rages outside, but in this small, dimly lit room, it's as if time itself has stilled. You can feel your heart pounding in your chest, a drumbeat of fear, and yet you can't look away. Slowly, the figure steps into the tavern, their movements deliberate, fluid, as though they've done this 1,000 times before. The air grows colder still, and a strange, quiet tension fills the room, as if everyone is holding their breath. The figure moves past you without a glance, the whisper of their cloak the only sound, and they take a seat at the far end of the bar. The tavern keeper doesn't move to greet them, doesn't offer the usual drink or friendly word. Instead, he simply watches, his eyes narrowing further, as if he knows exactly who this figure is. The newcomer sits in silence, their back straight, their hands folded neatly in front of them on the bar. There's something unsettling about their stillness, a perfect calm in a place where chaos should reign. The whispers start again, low and urgent, but no one dares approach the figure. The air is thick with the promise of something that hasn't yet been revealed, something dark and inevitable. As the minutes tick by, you begin to feel the walls closing in. The storm outside seems to match the rising intensity in the room, the wind howling louder, the thunder cracking with greater ferocity. You don't know why, but you feel drawn to the figure, an almost irresistible pull that leads you toward them. Every instinct screams at you to stay put, to keep your distance, but something inside you pushes forward. You rise from your seat, your legs shaky, and you move toward the bar. As you pass the other patrons, their eyes follow you, and you feel their silent warnings, but you can't stop yourself. The closer you get, the more your heart races, and by the time you're standing beside the figure, you can barely breathe. They don't look up at you. There's no acknowledgement, no recognition, just a coldness that seems to seep into your very bones. You open your mouth to speak, but no words come out. It's as if the air around you has thickened, and your voice has been stolen away. The figure shifts slightly, just enough for you to catch a glimpse of their face, hidden beneath the shadow of their hood. The sight sends a jolt of ice through your veins, and for a moment, you wonder if you're imagining it. Their eyes are like two dark voids, empty and endless, a blackness that draws you in, that threatens to consume you. You step back instinctively, but the figure doesn't move. Instead, a voice, low and almost imperceptible, slips from their lips. It's not a language you recognize, not words, but a sound, a vibration that seems to come from deep within the earth itself. And then, just as quickly as it began, the figure stands, their cloak billowing around them like a dark cloud, and they turn toward the door. The tavern keeper doesn't stop them. No one does. The figure moves toward the door, and for a brief moment, you catch a glimpse of the storm outside, a flash of lightning illuminating the world beyond the threshold. And then, just like that, the figure is gone, leaving behind only the cold, the darkness, and the lingering feeling that something irreversible has just occurred. The tavern is quiet once more, but the storm rages on, and the sense of foreboding grows stronger with each passing second. You sit back down, your heart still pounding in your chest, and wonder what you've just witnessed. But deep down, you already know, whatever it was, it isn't over. Not by a long shot. The door slams shut with a resounding bang, the force of it shaking the very walls of the tavern. The sudden sound seems to pull the room back into reality, but the unease remains, lingering in the air like a thick fog. You can't shake the image of the figure, their dark, empty eyes, and the unsettling silence that followed them. The storm outside continues to rage, as if reflecting the turmoil within your own mind. The fire sputters, its flames flickering uncertainly, casting twisted shadows that seem to shift and dance with a life of their own. The patrons have returned to their drinks, their conversation subdued, but there's a shared tension in the room now, a collective unease that everyone feels but no one speaks of. You try to focus on something else, anything else, but your mind keeps drifting back to the figure, the voice, that strange vibration that rattled the very core of your being. You can still feel it, like a low hum that lingers in the back of your skull, refusing to fade away. You try to push the thought aside, but it keeps resurfacing, gnawing at the edges of your thoughts. The tavern keeper is still behind the bar, his eyes scanning the room as if searching for something. You notice now that his hands are shaking ever so slightly as he polishes the same glass over and over. He hasn't said a word since the figure left. His silence is oppressive as the storm outside. You glance around the room again, noticing that the other patrons are acting differently, as though they, too, are hiding something, something that doesn't belong here, something that's been unleashed with the figure's departure. The whispers are softer now, more cautious, but they're still there, winding through the room like a snake in the grass. You feel an almost magnetic pull to the door, the same one you felt when the figure entered, and without thinking, you rise from your seat. The movement feels strange, as though your body is moving of its own accord, guided by something outside your control. The room seems to tilt slightly as you walk, the floor uneven beneath your feet, and when you reach the door, you pause. You know you should stay inside, safe from the storm, safe from whatever this is, but the pull is too strong. The handle feels cold beneath your fingers, colder than it should be. And as you open the door, the wind howls in, a gust that carries with it the scent of damp earth and something unnatural. The storm outside is worse than before, the rain lashing against the ground in sheets, the thunder cracking so violently that it feels as though the heavens themselves are splitting apart. You hesitate for a moment, standing on the threshold, your heart racing. There's no reason to go out there, no reason to face the storm, but something inside you tells you that you must. You step outside, the cold rain instantly soaking you to the bone. The air feels charged, crackling with an energy that you can't explain, as though the storm is not just weather, but something far more sinister. The tavern's lights flicker in the distance, barely visible through the sheets of rain, and you take a deep breath, your skin prickling with the sensation that something is watching you. You start to walk, your feet carrying you forward with an unsettling sense of purpose. The streets are eerily empty, the usual sounds of the town drowned out by the roar of the storm. Every step you take feels like a step further into something unknown, something dangerous, but you can't stop yourself. It's as if you're being pulled along by an invisible force, a gravity that's too powerful to resist. As you round a corner, you catch sight of something in the distance, something moving just beyond the reach of the storm's fury. At first, you think it's another figure, but then you realize it's something else entirely, something far worse. It's a shape, a mass of darkness that seems to stretch and writhe, twisting in ways that don't make sense. It's not a human shape, not an animal shape. It's something other, something alien, and yet it feels all too familiar. The sense of dread that grips you now is overwhelming. And for a moment, you think about turning back, about running for the safety of the tavern. But that same force, that same pull, drives you forward. You continue walking, drawn inexorably toward the thing in the distance. The storm rages around you, but it's as if you're in a different world now, a world where the normal rules don't apply. The mass of darkness grows larger as you get closer, and now you can hear it. The sound of a low, guttural growl, like the rumble of thunder, but far more menacing. You stop in your tracks, your heart pounding so loudly in your chest that you can barely hear anything else. The darkness shifts, and suddenly, it's no longer just a shape in the storm. It's moving toward you, its form stretching and contorting in ways that defy logic. You can feel the air around it warping, as though reality itself is bending in its presence. You take a step back, but it's too late. The mass lunges at you with a speed you didn't think possible, and in that instant, everything goes black. The world, the storm, the tavern, everything disappears into nothingness. You wake up in darkness, your head throbbing with an intense, unnatural ache. There's no sound, no movement, just the overwhelming silence that presses in on you from all sides. Your eyes blink rapidly, but the darkness doesn't relent, and for a moment, you wonder if you're still dreaming. The last thing you remember is the mass, the shape, the thing that lunged at you. Panic tightens in your chest as you realize you can't move. Your body is heavy, sluggish, as though it's not entirely your own. Slowly, you force yourself to sit up, but the motion is disorienting and you nearly lose your balance. You can feel the cold, damp ground beneath you, but there's no rain, no storm, no signs of the chaos you left behind. The air is still, unnervingly still, and it smells stale like old earth and rot. Your mind races, trying to make sense of where you are, what's happened, but the more you think, the more your head spins, a vortex of confusion threatening to pull you under. Then a whisper, soft and insistent, breaks through the fog in your mind. It's not a voice, not exactly. It's more like a presence, something that exists just beyond the edge of your hearing, brushing against your thoughts, scraping at your sanity. You shouldn't have come. It murmurs, the words so faint you can't be sure they're real. You freeze, the blood draining from your face as the weight of the words sinks in. It's too late. The whisper continues, and this time it feels closer, like it's right behind you, breathing down your neck. You spin around, but there's nothing there, just the darkness, stretching out endlessly in all directions. The air around you shifts, as though the very atmosphere is alive, responding to the words that had just been spoken. Every instinct in your body tells you to run, to get up and flee, but your limbs feel like they're made of stone, heavy and uncooperative. The whisper lingers in the air, circling you, growing more insistent with every passing moment. You try to stand, but the ground beneath you is soft, yielding, like you're sinking deeper with each movement. You look down, and that's when you see it. The earth, or what you thought was earth, is not solid at all. It's shifting, twisting, almost organic, like the ground itself is breathing. Panic rises within you, sharp and immediate, but your body refuses to respond. You try to scream, but no sound comes out. Your throat is tight, constricted, as though something is pressing down on it. The whisper grows louder now, its tone almost mocking. There's no escape. You clench your fists, fighting against the paralysis that has taken hold of your body. Every muscle, every nerve is screaming at you to move, but the more you struggle, the more it feels like you're sinking deeper into the earth, swallowed whole by the darkness that seems to stretch on forever. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the whisper fades, leaving behind a heavy silence. The air is thick with it, oppressive, like it's holding its breath, waiting for something. You don't know how long you've been sitting there, but the sense of time seems irrelevant now, like it's been suspended in this place between reality and something else, something far darker. The ground beneath you finally stills, and for the first time since you woke, you manage to push yourself to your feet, though it takes everything you have just to stand. The darkness doesn't lift, but something shifts in the air, something that feels both familiar and alien at the same time. The stillness is broken by the faintest sound, a soft scraping, like nails on stone, and you turn instinctively toward it, even though you know you shouldn't. In the distance, barely visible in the pitch-black void, a pair of glowing eyes appear. At first, they're small, pinpricks of light, but as you watch, they grow larger, closer, until the figure that owns them comes into view. It's not human, at least not anymore. The shape is distorted, twisted, as though it's been warped by something beyond comprehension. It moves toward you with a slow, deliberate gait, its eyes fixed on you with a hunger that sends chills crawling down your spine. The air around you crackles again, the tension thickening as the figure closes the gap between you. You try to step back, but your feet remain planted firmly in place, as though the ground itself has taken hold of you. The figure steps into the dim light that seems to come from nowhere, and for the first time, you get a clearer look at it. Its body is a patchwork of grotesque, shifting shapes, skin that doesn't belong, limbs that are too long, too thin, its face a distortion of features, with eyes that gleam like molten gold. Its mouth opens, and though it doesn't make a sound, you can feel the scream it should have uttered reverberating inside your skull. A sound so unbearable that you want to claw at your ears to block it out. But there's no escape. The thing moves closer still, and now you realize with a sickening certainty that it is no longer just an entity. It's a force, something that has been waiting for you. It's the thing from the storm, the thing that followed you, the thing that pulled you into this place. It knows you, and it is here to claim you. The creature looms in front of you, its twisted form impossibly close now. Its eyes, glowing with that eerie, molten light, pierce through the darkness, and the air between you crackles with an oppressive energy that feels like it's pushing against your very soul. You can feel its presence, suffocating, drowning you in a sense of inevitability. Its mouth moves, but no sound escapes. Still, you hear it in your mind, feel the vibrations of its words gnawing at the edges of your sanity. You shouldn't have come here, it whispers, its voice slithering into the corners of your thoughts, wrapping around your every fear. You try to move, to run, to escape, but your limbs are like stone, frozen in place, unable to react. Every muscle in your body screams to flee, but the creature's gaze holds you fast, paralyzing you with an unseen grip. You don't know how long you stand there, trapped, but the silence is unbearable. The creature doesn't advance. It simply watches, waiting, as if it's savoring your terror. The air grows colder still, and the ground beneath you feels even more alive, pulsating like the very earth is breathing with a rhythm of its own. Then, just as the darkness seems to close in around you completely, you hear something else. A voice, your voice, faint at first, like a whisper from deep within your mind. This isn't real. It's not real. You can fight it. The words, simple and small, spark something deep inside of you. A flicker of resistance. A tiny spark of defiance. You focus on it, cling to it, as though your life depends on it. You concentrate, pushing through the fog in your mind, willing yourself to move, to escape. The creature stirs slightly, as if sensing the shift in your energy, its eyes narrowing, its form warping in response. It hisses, a sound that makes your skin crawl, and takes a step forward, but this time you aren't paralyzed. You push against the pull of its gaze, your body trembling with the effort, and finally your legs begin to move. Step by step, you force yourself away, each motion a battle, each step like dragging yourself through thick, sticky mud. The creature watches, its presence still heavy, but it doesn't stop you. It simply watches. Your heartbeat pounds in your ears, deafening, as you begin to sprint, each movement more fluid, more urgent. You run, not knowing where you're going, but trusting that you must keep moving, that the only way out is forward. The ground beneath your feet shifts and shifts again, but you ignore it, your focus only on the need to escape. The darkness around you thickens, and for a moment, you feel like you're running through a void, a place with no beginning and no end. The air grows colder still, the pressure heavier, but you force yourself to keep moving, pushing through the overwhelming weight of it all. And then, as you run, you begin to notice something strange. The creature's presence isn't fading. No, it's still there, but it's not following you anymore. It's retreating. The whispering voice grows fainter, the sound of its mind-breaking words less intrusive. The air, which had once felt so thick and suffocating, begins to thin. You don't dare stop, but the darkness is breaking apart, fragments of light appearing like cracks in the sky. It's not much, but it's enough. You focus on the light, pushing toward it with everything you have left. And then, just as the last remnants of the creature's presence begin to slip away, you break through. The darkness falls away like a curtain, and you find yourself standing in the middle of a vast, open field. The air is fresh, clean, and the stars above shimmer with an almost serene brightness. You look around, disoriented, unsure if you're dreaming or awake, but the creature is gone. The ground beneath you feels solid, real, and for the first time since you awoke in that strange, twisted place, you can breathe. The silence isn't oppressive anymore. It's calming. But as you stand there, taking in the calm, a sense of unease creeps back in. Something isn't right. The field is too still, too quiet. And then, in the distance, you see it. a shadow moving on the horizon, a figure too familiar to ignore, too terrifying to dismiss. You feel a chill crawl up your spine, and though you want to run, you know you can't outrun it. It's always there, always waiting. The thing that followed you, that cornered you, is never truly gone. It just waits for you to think you're safe, to let your guard down. And when you do, it will be there,